Begin tonight with Bill O'Reilly, host of the No Spin News, author of the coming book, Confronting the President's No Spin Assessments from Biden to Washington. Also wrote his column of the week, which I read over the weekend. Mr. O'Reilly, good to see you. Welcome back to the program. You are going to, I know, talk about how the media is giving Kamala Harris a pass. She's not coming out, on and on and on. If we turn this around, at some point, don't Republicans, conservatives, whatever you want to call them, acknowledge how fundamentally flawed as a candidate Donald Trump is?
Why would they do that? They think that Kamala Harris is much worse than Trump, no matter what Trump does. So why would they acknowledge anything like that? That doesn't make sense.
I'm not saying that they would acknowledge it publicly. I'm saying that the punditry must acknowledge and take a little bit of responsibility that Donald Trump, for all the reasons I listed, should be up high single, low double digits, and yet by his own unforced errors, he's giving this to Kamala Harris.
Well, he's making a lot of errors, no doubt about that. The Georgia thing, you shrug your shoulders. But pundits on either side are never going to admit they make a mistake. They make a lot of money supporting or attacking various candidates. That's what they do. Honesty is not really an equation anymore on television news. And we all know that. It's been documented, and we don't have to go through it again. I think at this point in history, Donald Trump, I agree with you, should be up in the polls. The reason he's not is that after he was shot, people had an expectation that he would modify a little bit, and he has not. He picks fights, and the fights don't help him. They don't help the American people. State of Georgia, he should be winning by 7 or 8 points just because of Laken Riley, the University of Georgia student who was murdered brutally by an undocumented migrant. And you have to acknowledge that when you allow millions of people into this country unvetted, that's going to happen. And that's what Biden and Harris have done. So that should have been the focus of his remarks over the weekend, not Brian Kemp and the 2020 election beef. But I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm in business to tell the truth about both candidates. Kamala Harris is a far greater danger to the country than Donald Trump. Look at the stock market today. The reason that happened is that we are a consumer spending economy, okay? And the consumer, the American consumer, is out of money. He's out of money because of the high prices of everything, and wages have not kept up. Real wages are down under Biden-Harris. That's the big story. And what does Kamala Harris want to do about it? Raise taxes on corporations, which, of course, would pass that along to the consumer who doesn't have any money. So you can see that we're heading for economic Armageddon if the vice president wins the election in November. Trump is a capitalist. He won't mess around with that. He'll cut taxes. He'll get as much money in circulation by the marketplace, not the federal government, as Biden did, as he can. Okay, so that's how I make my determination. What's better for the folks? Donald Trump is unpredictable. He won't let go of grudges. He's hurting himself. There's no doubt about what I just said. But in the larger picture, your family, your welfare, you're going to vote for Kamala Harris, you're going to feel pain like you've never felt before. And that's my opinion.
Okay. Well, look, Jim Cramer said the same thing today, right? I mean, people have all talked about this as it relates to taxes and the economy. And the polling shows that Donald Trump does better on the issues. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.